The dirt.
Welcome to Cyborg 86. Today we're looking at these nanoscale size crawlers. Got the 1/43rd scale X43 on the left, and then three 1/36 scale Jiabaile crawlers. The green one's my brushless conversion. And here on the end we have the 1/32nd scale Ascent 32 by Red Cat. And this thing's huge. In fact, I've got a SCX24 that's smaller than this. Yeah, this is it. Smarty the Smart Car. About 90 millimeter wheelbase. In fact, here it is next to a stock Deadbolt, and it's practically just as wide. So I was originally going to compare this just to the Jiabaile since it was supposedly close in scale, but I think I'll compare it to the Deadbolt too while we're at it. I gotta admit, I was really interested in a smaller scale truck, and I was a little disappointed when this one came. But I have crawled it some, not super slow crawl, but it is pretty fun. I'll show you a little bit of running video and some other things after we look at more on the bench. We'll start off with the slow speed. With the brushed motors, you kind of gotta give it a little gas to get it going, and then you can back off a little bit, and that's why you'll see some stops and starts. Reason I was a bit disappointed was just because I expected the Ascent 32 to be pretty small. Now I know the SCX 30's coming out. I got a couple on those on order, so you can be watching for that because I have high hopes for that. I've never considered one of these earlier SCX24s to be good at slow crawl, but you can see, compared to the Red Cat, it's looking pretty good. And to be honest, I'm probably a bit spoiled with all the brushless options that are out there. I've got several brushless upgrades from the X43 all the way up to 10th scale. So yeah, I'm spoiled by brushless. And if you stick around to the end of this video, I'll show you some of the ideas I have in mind. I've got a LCG chassis for this little Jiabaile. I've been teasing it for a while, but then I keep getting busy and I never could finish it off. It's good enough for me, but I want to make it good enough for others to download and print their own, and that takes some extra work. So I appreciate your patience with that. If you're like me and you've watched a number of other videos on these Ascent 32s, then you've heard the whining and the complaints about it. Here's a little high-speed run. These are all pretty springy units, but I think as you get smaller, it's less noticeable. Much more noticeable on the larger scale, but I think in effect they're really about the same as far as the springiness is concerned. And just for kicks, I'm trying out a new way to compare these rides. Each one of those lines is 1 centimeter. So we'll take a look at these smaller ones. Of course, the Deadbolt's going to overflow this scale, so skipping that one for now. Here's another test I had in mind. I'm just going to crawl up and see where the front starts lifting, where it's going to flip backwards. And we're just going to compare these two. And I apologize, I didn't compare the blue monster truck crawler. It'll actually do a better angle than this. But hopefully this will be a little helpful. Let me know what you think of it in the comments. Is this a good idea or a bad one? I put the yellow line in there just to show where it started lifting, and I'll put that back up as compared to the Ascent 32. The yellow is the angle there to beat, and it looks like it beat it. Still not sure if this is a good way to test or not, so I'll think about it a little bit more, but you may see it back in the future, or you may not. Before we go out to crawl these things, we'll just take a quick look at the radios. The Ascent 32's radio is the larger of the two, and it does have steering dual rate on there, which is nice. It also has a trim, of course, and a little channel 3 button that I really don't know what it does. The Jiabaile's radio is smaller and does have a foam wheel grip, which is nice. On the top, it has 3 speed selectors. You can push up and down buttons for 3 speed. Also has a light off and on switch, which is nice because the Ascent 32 doesn't have lights, but the Jiabaile does. Also on the side there you saw were trims. There's plenty of in-depth video out there about these radios, so I'm just keeping it high level. And everybody's used to the SCX24 radio, and there it is. A quick look inside just shows us that it's got a 1S battery, just like the Jiabaile. Also has a 1S ESC, if I can get it open here. The Jiabaile uses an all-in-one circuit board for the ESC receiver and the lights, and this one's an all-in-one ESC receiver. Big honking motor in there for this little guy. Here I was toying with the idea of putting this servo in there. I did go ahead and do it with the brushless conversion. That's coming up. But man, what a huge difference it made in steering radius. I'll show you. It's pretty cool. Okay, so here's all the test rigs we'll be crawling today. Quite a collection. We'll start off here with the Deadbolt. I'll try to switch up the order in which they run, just to keep it as fair as possible. Anyway, this crawl spot is a pile of trash. It's actually a burned pile out on a farm, and this is cardboard. It's been rained on a bit, and honestly, I really like it as a crawl spot. Pretty happy with it. I think I'm going to cut this section out in the future here. The Deadbolt can go down that kind of, but the rest of them don't do it very well. It's just too steep, that upper drop. After the Deadbolt here, I decided to throw the little Jiabaile monster truck into the mix, because in some ways it crawls better than the little Jeep clone. Definitely does a better angle uphill just due to the weight distribution. Up next is the Ascent 32 in stock form, and there will be a surprise reveal. I'm going to crawl that brushless one for you too. I'm going to show you just a quick clip of this 3601 Jeep clone. And after this, I don't tend to show it anymore. It's just really not comparable. Even though the sizes and scales of all these aren't really comparable. But this one especially stands out as not comparable. The main point in showing all these together is just to give you an idea how their sizes are different and their crawling characteristics. You know, I was expecting that Ascent 32 to be just a little larger maybe than these 3601, 3602 Jiabailes, and I was quite surprised. So anyway, come along for the ride. I just enjoy driving them together and seeing that for myself. Now you can too. And the blue one, Ascent 32 here, is one I've converted to brushless, and I also put that servo in there I was pointing out to you earlier. I'll do a video on how I did that, what difference it made. It's kind of in progress now. I just kind of stole some parts out of other rigs and tucked them in there along with the brushless motor I had in stock. And I'm pretty happy with it. Didn't slow it down as much as I want because it's a fairly high kV. It's a 4,000 kV. But still, I can slow it down pretty good, especially downhill like you saw there before I crashed. But the speed, the top end is crazy fast. It's almost like a basher, which is not really what I'm going for. Still, if I'm really, really careful on the throttle, I can slow crawl it pretty well. Here's a pile of garbage I was just crawling in. Glad it's hidden out behind the bushes. Don't want a grown man being seen playing with little toy trucks in a pile of garbage. For goodness sakes. Okay, so let's move over to the rocks. That's much more socially acceptable. Here we'll start off with the stock Ascent 32, and we'll just crawl up these flat rocks at increasing angles and just see how far they can go. Blue Jiabaile 136 truck is next. Remember, the Achilles heel on these is that transmission hangs down in the middle, just a little too far. And that's something that gets a little frustrating. I have developed a little skid plate that I've printed up for some of these, and I think it makes an improvement. I intend to do a better test of that in the future and show you how it works. Listen for the little snapping sound when that rear wheel clears that rock right here. Clickety when the wheel bound up. The rear drive shaft. It's meant to slip so you don't break anything worse. So that's the clickety clack you hear. Bring up the deadbolt here next. You've all seen these crawl a million times, 1,000,001. Well, here's 1,000,002. Yeah, the Brushless Ascent 32. And I can crawl this pretty smooth. If you look there, I don't stop or halt. Once I settle into a speed, it'll just go. I like that a lot. We'll do this one more time downhill, just to show the downhill control. And I think we'll be about done with this video. Getting a little longer than normal. The Jeep clone was feeling a little left out, so I brought him back into the mix. You kind of see why I felt sorry for the little fella. Coming up, I'll show you a little bit more about the difference that servo made. We'll also show you a little bit about that brushless motor install I did. When I get that Jiabaile LCG chassis done, I'll tell you about that too. And the new Ascent 18 Apex. Got one of those. I'll be putting that head-to-head here with the high steer Ascent 18. Got together with some family, and boy, do we have a good time. The dirt. I appreciate your watching. Sure hope you enjoyed it. I sure had a great time. And happy crawling.